Hello and welcome to the two-man power trip of wrestling. I'm your host, JP John Poz. With me today is a very special guest. She's, of course, the daughter of the legendary Terry Bam Bam Gordy. She's an SWE Women's World Champion. She's known as the Bad Street Beauty. Miranda Gordy, welcome to the two-man power trip. How you doing?
Oh, doing great. Thank you for having me.
So what have you been up to? I know you said you've been traveling a lot lately? What's been going on in your world?
Well, just this past week, I was at the Cauliflower Alley for like 2 days in Vegas. I'm sorry, even before that, the Sunday before I got there, I had a lucha show in Denver, Colorado, at Tammy's Lucha Libre, and then out to Cauliflower Alley, and then back to Texas for the Wichita Falls Hall of Fame show that's going on at the Wichita Falls State Fair, and then out to Jerry Lawler's reunion show. So, like, all the way across the country this week.
That's crazy to think
Yeah.
of, like, in this modern age. It's like, man, like you're working 8 days in a row. That's old school stuff, you know?
Oh yeah. Well, I'm blessed to have work because there's many people that don't right now. So, luckily this coming week I'm in my area, which is the Kansas City area. So I have a pretty easy week. So I hit it hard last week, and I'm gonna chill this week. So it's all good.
So with that, like traveling all over the place and doing all that stuff, when did you actually start wrestling? Like, was it a few years ago where you actually finally started getting in?
Yeah, so I've only been like actually having matches for a little over 2 years now. I
Oh,
started
shit.
training in September of 2018, and then I started having matches in July of 2019. So I had a friend that was wrestling, and like I told them, I was like, I think I want to get into it. And they're like, why don't you manage me and see if you even like it? And I'm like, that's great. I'll do that. So I did that for 6 or 7 months, and they gave me a spot where I got to punch somebody and the crowd popped, and like I was instantly hooked. So ever since then, I trained, and I've been training and doing matches, and I've made a career out of this.
It's pretty cool. I'm surprised, you didn't want to do it like when you were so young. They always say, like obviously your dad, he started really young. I think he was 16 or 14 or something. I'm
Like
surprised you didn't want
14,
to.
yeah.
Yeah, yeah. Surprised you didn't want to get in all those years ago.
Well, as a kid, I liked it. I grew up in the Attitude Era, so love Stone Cold and The Rock and
Yep.
China and everybody. And it was cool when I was a kid. Obviously, I lost my dad young, and
Yep.
so it wasn't really something. After that, I really wasn't interested in it. Just for the simple fact, I felt like it took my dad. It always reminded me of him, and so everything I was kind of doing wrestling related is just I would always get kind of emotional because it reminded me of him, and somewhat traumatic. So I just tried to stay away, and finally, I don't know, like I was just at a point in my life. You know what? I think I'll try this. So
Almost like a tribute now, right?
yeah, kind of a tribute. And I mean, I kind of regret not getting into it sooner because I saw it all wrong. Really, like I was upset, and I felt like wrestling took him away from me. But now that I'm in it, and I'm getting to work with people that knew him really well and worked with him, and were even fans, like just sharing stories with me and how he impacted their life, and like personal stuff that they knew about him has like given me something to kind of like I guess live vicariously through them and kind of gain more knowledge about him, stuff that most people, when they lose a parent, they just lose a parent. But I've been kind of blessed to have so many people that loved him, and they're willing to share like how he touched their lives, and the good memories that they had with him. So it's kind of like some sort of healing thing for me right now. And I mean, at the same time, it's also money. I've also made it a job, and like I'm in the best shape of my life. So it's helped me in several different ways, not just remembering my dad. So I'm enjoying myself while I'm here.
They say it takes a few years to get comfortable and I mean really get comfortable. Are you at that stage yet, or is it going to take a few more years just to really get comfortable in there?
Um, I would not say that I'm completely comfortable. I mean, like, as far as in the ring, I'm getting much better than I was even like this time last year. Um, Definitely like getting more of my character down, my gimmick, and just being like not worrying about what goes on and more about like having fun, I guess, is if that's what you're asking. I'm definitely having more fun instead of worrying about am I gonna look stupid in front of all these people. So I've definitely gained some growth in that area.
With, training and getting into it and stuff. So where do you go to train? Who trained you? Like how do you like make that leap when you're ready to do it? How did you make that first step?
So I had a friend, just like he was a fan of my dad's, and like we met him at Texoma Pro when Buddy, which was one of my dad's tag team partners, his son came down and did a show, and I met up with him. And so just through a show, I met this guy, and he had a friend who trained people and owned a promotion in Texas, and he, out of the kindness of his heart, he was just like, you know what? I'm going to do right by you because some people would take advantage of you. And like, I'm not going to charge you anything. I'm just going to show you the ropes. Maybe it'll spark something in me too. And started training me. Like, he had a ring set up in like a warehouse and started training. I don't think he'd done it in years. And so he took me under his wing, and his name is Mike Davis. And just out of the kindness of his heart, started training me and taught me the basics. And he got me started. And Tom Howard, who is a renowned trainer, who is an ex worker himself, him and his girlfriend, she's known as Zoe Starks on NXT, Teresa, they were there through like some of the first stuff that I was doing. And so they're a big influence on my training as well. Before COVID hit, so the fall of 2019, I actually had the opportunity to train with Ember Moon for about 6 months. So she had a big hand in my training. And then obviously influences on the road and different people teaching me stuff, the vets, the old schoolers, and then people that I work with. I learned something with every match. And right now, my boyfriend, he goes by Niles Plonk. He's been in the business like 22 years, and he has a ring set up at his place, which is where I live. And that's where I currently train. So yeah, like tons of people. And I'm so grateful for all of them. They just like out of the kindness of their heart took me under their wings and showed me the ropes and stuff. So I've had some good influences.
Tom Howard, that's a good one.
Yeah.
UPW trainer back in the day, Samoa Joe, John Cena, The
Yeah.
Miz, a bunch of pretty damn big time names coming from him.
Yeah. Yeah, they're like the coolest. Him and Teresa are like the coolest people ever. So like I'm super blessed to be able to say that they were a big hand in my training.
With that, and you're getting in, and you mentioned, I didn't even realize Buddy Jack Roberts had a son. So I mean, that's kind of cool to kind of have that little part of history be a part of your history, getting into the business too.
Right. So he was actually doing it years before I even got in, and he actually retired before I got in. Oh, it must have been like 2015 that I think the last time that he wrestled. But yeah, he was doing it, and he had a partner, and they were kind of doing the Freebirds thing. And yeah, he came down to Texas one time for a show, and I met up with him, and luckily I did, because I gained some like wrestler friends I never thought that I would need in a couple of years. But yeah, he wrestles. I've been trying to talk him into coming back and doing it now that I'm in it, and maybe we could get something started there. I also keep trying to talk my brother into it, but I think he's pretty much done with wrestling.
Yeah, I was talking to Jimmy Wang Yang, and he was saying, yeah, his shoot job keeps him pretty busy.
Yeah, he does. And, I understand like this takes a big toll. Like even just, one time I'm like, hey, just do an autograph signing. I could totally see how you would not want to even get started, because it kind of like grows on you quickly. You get the bug and you're like, oh, okay, I should do more, and so I totally understand. Maybe one day he'll do one thing with me, but yeah, for now, not him. I'll just keep working on Buddy Jack.
Man, that's pretty cool. Do you go back and watch old like Freebirds footage and stuff? Like, do you go back and watch your dad and Buddy Roberts and Michael PSAs?
That's probably the most tape that I watch is the Freebirds. Mostly my dad, just because, from the beginning, people are like, you should totally do the stuff your dad does. And I mean, it's cool just to watch him, just thinking about him and stuff. So, yeah, I watch all their stuff, and of course, that's the first thing Michael will tell me to do when I talk to Michael, and he's like, "Go back and watch this spot or this match. When we did this, and especially." When we started doing this Freebabes thing, he's like, "Oh, these are some good ideas that y'all can kind of take and make your own." So yeah, absolutely, I watch their stuff for the most part.
That's pretty cool to getting some advice from Michael Hayes, known as one of the smartest guys ever in the history of the business. Just creatively and spots and all that kind of stuff. As far as being a great talker too, obviously your dad is probably the way better worker of the two, but still, Michael PSA is a huge part of the team. Very very important.
Oh yeah, yeah, and my dad passed. Like I call him my Uncle Michael, but he kind of took over, like as godparent and the best he can. Obviously, he's busy. Vince keeps him busy, and he's got to be busy for to entertain the masses with WWE as a producer. But he's been there for me when he can be, and especially now, like. We have like the greatest connection now because he's kind of we have the same interests, and so yeah, anytime I need help with something, like I said, the Freebabes, I immediately called him up, like, what do you think about this? And he gave me some great ideas and constantly giving me some good feedback on what I should do, where and what to watch, or how to take in certain things.
Where did the Free Babes emanate from? Like, where did that was it Mickie James or did you came up with that?
It was definitely Mickie James. So I knew that I was gonna go to NWA. It's like a few months back. And because Jazz, well, I work with Jazz a lot, and she texts me, she's like, "Hey, you got this booking." I'm like, "Okay, cool. That great opportunity." I was super excited, and then Mickie got a hold of me. It was like, "I have this idea. We're having a tag team tournament." And obviously, with my family history and my dad having history in the NWA with the belts, thought I would be a good fit for that. And she wanted to make it all second generation. And so we kind of went through some people. She found Haley J and a couple other people that had written into her. And, I was like, I like Haley J, and she's a good talker. She's definitely, the Michael Hayes of the group.
Yeah.
So that's good. We got that down. And then we were looking for the third person. We needed like a technician, a Buddy Roberts or a Jimmy. And it just so happened, she found Jazzy. And even though Jazzy was green, I was like, it's Tag, we can make it work. So luckily Tags, you can, hide the weaknesses, and definitely you can pull out your strength. So Jazzy worked, and it just so happened Jimmy tagged with my brother. So it's full circle. So it worked out really well. And I think we had a lot of momentum behind us, and hopefully we can keep on with that. So we're trying to work out some details now. Maybe continue it, hopefully at NWA at some point, and then maybe like OVW and a couple other independent places.
Yeah, is there any thought of coming back to NWA? I know that you haven't been doing as many tapings, I guess, after that. I guess they have one show popped up, but is there talk of like, hey, when are we coming back to the NWA, or it's that kind of wait and see kind of situation?
I think it's a wait and see thing. They had the big pay-per-view. Um, and it's just waiting to hear back from them on doing something, if they're going to continue now that they have the tag titles out again. It could be something that we come back and do. And I think in the meantime, we're just going to get the steam behind us and become the big draw, so that they can't refuse us. So start getting out there, getting the 3-person tag, because I don't really know of any women's 3-person tags. I mean, there might be. I don't keep up with the indies as well as I should, but as far as I know, there's not really any out there. So I think that we could definitely, with the name and with the dynamic we have, we could definitely become the next big thing. We just got to do it.
Yeah, yeah, keep those bookings rolling. So
Yeah.
what's the thought process of the actual NWA show, the actual Empower? When you get invited there, you're like, okay, now we're going to be part of this tag team. You face Red Velvet and Kylan King. What was like the thought process going in your head? Like, we got to nail this. Were you nervous? Were you excited, or maybe all the above?
Definitely nervous. Definitely, there's a lot of pressure because I know it's a big platform. But excited to be there. Like the locker room was super cool. It was great to be around like legends, and then like the upcoming like future of wrestling. You know, all the best talent out there was at the show, and so it was really cool to be even just in the locker room with all those people. Um, but as far as like the match and stuff, I was super excited. We had Medusa as our agent, like looking over us, making sure everything was good. Of course, Mickie was there, and people like Gail Kim and stuff like that. And so uh, it was a fun experience. It was definitely a one of a kind experience too, because it's just different. It's like an indie show but bigger. So like they had it together. So you know what I mean. So yeah, I think it's a pretty cool environment to be in.
Thing about that is like, okay, is it going to be successful? Then it sells out, and then they have the 73rd anniversary show that sells out. Then they do TV tapings, so it seemed like a good momentum was started with the Empower movement. Really,
To my knowledge, they will be doing more Empower stuff. Probably not like a all the time thing. Definitely a special, maybe even an annual thing. But they're definitely going to do more.
seems like if it hit and it was successful, that means like they want to do more, and they want to do more. I know Fight TV was saying it was successful on their end as well. So I mean, that all signs point to there's definitely going to be another one, and the Freebabes could be returning. I would hope. I would think.
Oh, absolutely. Hopefully, now that they have the tag titles with Marty Bell and Sienna, uh, we can get there before the next Empower. We'll see. You never know. I actually face Marty Bell in Kansas City this coming Saturday, so we'll see. I might have to cut a little promo calling her out, saying
Yeah.
I'll bring the free babes with me next time.
It's a smart move. I like that. You're thinking ahead. That's old school worker thought right there.
Mhm.
Yeah, it's good. With the free babes and kind of maybe putting them to a side for a second, you yourself, you said, have been wrestling for a while. Where have you wrestled? Like obviously, SW Fury, Texoma. Where else have you been wrestling?
Oh, all over. USA Championship Wrestling out of Jackson. That's a promotion that works with Jerry Lawler a lot.
Yep.
School of Morton, whenever I can. I know that they're pretty well known. They do the 505 Live. Um, just several different indie promotions. I actually, coming up in the wintertime, I have a lot of shows in the New England state, like Pennsylvania and New Jersey, New York, um, Minnesota, for Still Domain. I'm trying to think of where else. My main places to be are Texas, obviously for SWE Fury, and then Texoma Pro. Um, Gosh, I'm trying to think. I have Dynamic Wrestling Federation coming up. Um, and I've been just kind of everywhere, really. Like Cauliflower Island was Las Vegas this week in Colorado. I think the furthest I've ever been would be Japan. And I have a Canada trip coming up in October. So that'll be 3 countries. So just getting my name out there, whether it's a big promotion or not, just traveling and enjoying myself.
How did the Japan thing come about? That's great.
So Japan happened February of 2020. As soon as I got back from Japan, everything started shutting down. So luckily I got there before everything happened. But so I wrestled for Tokyo Championship Wrestling, which is run by Jimmy Suzuki, and he was a photographer for All Japan Pro Wrestling. And I think it was like December or November of 2019, and he messaged me and was like, "Hey, I know you're doing matches now. Do you want to wrestle in Japan?" And like, I'm only a few months in, but I wasn't gonna say no, so I'm like, "Of course I'll do." It. And I probably had no business going over there at that time, but I mean, I did it anyway, and I was really proud of myself. And so February came, I went to Japan. I worked for Tokyo Championship Wrestling and DDT Pro. I was lucky enough to get on to DDT Pro, and or yeah, DDT Pro, and that was in Tokyo. And yeah, so I had a lot of fun over there. I hope to go back whenever everything opens back up.
That's awesome, and obviously they know, and Jimmy knows the lineage and the legacy of your father in All Japan Pro Wrestling, Triple Crown champion. I mean everything. He was so dominant over there, such a legend. Did those fans, did they respond to you kind of accordingly? You know, oh, you know, all that kind of fervor that they give over there for their big time legends.
Oh, absolutely. Like, and that was the coolest part. Like, obviously, they're real respectful over there. And, just they treated me, I would say, like royalty almost. Like they were just immediately welcoming and just happy that I was there because they respected and followed my dad so much. So just being over there, they were wanting to show me everything and just like be around me. And I thought that was so cool. Like my dad made such an impact on them and they loved him so much that they wanted to just immediately treat me with kindness. Not that they wouldn't anyway, but just immediately love the fact that I was there. So that was really cool. And they said they wanted me back, so I'll definitely take that too. But yeah, I hope to go back because it's like a whole nother world, and I'd never been before. So I want to explore more.
I feel like that would be kind of the perfect thing, you know. Even the Freebabes bring their. I know Jazzy's been over there too before for a different promotion, but be like kind of the perfect thing. I think the fans over there would love it.
Oh, absolutely. Oh, yeah, absolutely. Me and Jazzy could totally dominate over there. I think that would be a great thing to do. That we could possibly work that out whenever things go back to normal and Japan's fully open and everything else. So, yeah, I'm totally down to do that.
Is there any country that you haven't worked yet? I know there's a bunch out there, but is there a country you're thinking like, man, I got to work there sometime soon?
Well, like I said, I have Canada coming up, but which is cool. Like, there's a lot of wrestling in Canada, a lot of wrestlers, well known from Canada, so that'll be a good place to start. Anywhere in Europe, like I've never been, so I would literally take any country in Europe. So just to see it and say that I've done it.
Yeah. I
Yeah.
feel like that wrestling fan base over there is it's always was kind of big and it was always there, but I feel like the last few years, I mean, COVID kind of hurt it obviously a bit, but before that, I mean, it blew up. There were flying guys in there. I mean, like Paul Heyman would get flown over there. He's technically a WWE guy, but they'd pay so much money that's like you can't pass it up. I mean, they'll fly everybody over there, and they were just obsessed with wrestling. They weren't getting enough of it over there.
Oh, yeah, and, like, my boyfriend's been to, like, Amsterdam and stuff, and he wrestled in, like, Belgium, and, of course, I have friends, like, over in the UK and stuff, and so it's big over there, and, I think that it would just be cool just to say that I did it, but also, like, make it a thing where I go and people actually become my fans there, you know? I think that would be cool.
With you in like some matches that like you haven't had yet or dream matches or something that you really want in wrestling but it hasn't happened yet. Like they always say like who's the dream match, who's the dream opponent, who are some matches that you would like to face, you know, upcoming years. It's not to be right away but upcoming years.
So when people ask, I always say my trainers, Zoe Starks and Ember Moon, just because I've never had a match with either one of them, and I would just like to show them like what I can do, maybe make them proud of me or whatever, so that I could say, hey, I got to actually wrestle people that had a big hand in my training. So, because I love both of them, they're both really awesome, talented, and so just working with them, even if they weren't my trainers, would be really cool. But the fact that they were, I think that would make it really special.
That would be cool. What about Mickie James? She's out there.
That would be cool too. That would like she's really sweet. So of course Mickie James would be definitely be a great person to just, like wrestle and soak up all that knowledge while doing it.
I know or maybe she isn't but I thought Jazz was retired, but would Jazz be a nice opponent to get out there if she wasn't retired?
So I've actually had the opportunity to wrestle Jazz twice now.
Oh, you have? Okay,
Yeah,
awesome.
so she was like my fourth match when I first got started. Um, we wrestled in Denton, Texas, and like I would wrestle her again just so she could see that I mean, she sees me all the time, but just so she could feel how I've improved. because it was a match. It was questionable. I was just starting. And so, of course, she gave me feedback and things to work on. But just to be able to do it again would be really awesome because I love jazz. And we had a little short match in SWE where I won the title from her. So it was super quick, but I did win the title. Of course, it's all TV. So, but I would like to definitely do that again so she can definitely see my improvement, like from inside the ring.
Yeah, she's got to feel the improvement. Yes.
Exactly. Yeah.
So what's going on with SW Fury? Are they still running shows? Because it seemed like they stopped. Like they were running a ton of shows, and they kind of slowed down a bit.
So I am uncertain of the future of SWE. As far as I know, they are still running. They have a show in November in San Antonio. I know recently that Lacey Von Erich has bought a part of the company, and she's wanting to change some stuff up and maybe change the direction that the company is going in. And I think that's why they've canceled some things, is to kind of when something comes up for new management or you're reconstructing something, you got to take some time off and get your bearings together and you reconfigure some stuff. So I think that's what they're doing now. They're taking a break for the next 2 months and just getting it back together to go the direction that they want to head. And so they'll probably, like I said, reboot in November in San Antonio. But as far as the TV and stuff, I'm not sure. I could defend my title in November, or I could be the SWE Women's TV champ forever. So we'll see. We'll see when we get to November, I guess.
With Lacey, obviously being a Von Erich, Carrie's daughter, is there some hidden rivalry there just because she's a Von Erich?
Well, the only time that I've really gotten to work with her was in Texas, and Chrissy James and I we were having a match, and Lacey came out, interrupted me, and gave me her claw slam, and I've yet to get revenge for that. So that could also be in the works in the future. Some Von Erich Freebird action. So you never know. We'll just have to see whenever SWE starts back up. That could definitely be in the works.
I feel like if your name is Von Erich, even Ross and Marshall shouldn't be safe. I feel like if your last name is Von Erich, you can't like him. You know what I mean? There's got to be that rivalry there, dating back all the way to the early '80s. I mean, you just got to hate them.
Right.
With the Von Erichs and the Freebirds, obviously there's some legendary feuds there. Is there some stuff you go back to watch like from World Class and like, man, this is great. I want to try to incorporate some of that because the heat that your father and Michael Hayes were be able, and Buddy Jack, of course, were able to create was just unbelievable. I mean, near riot situations there.
Right. Yeah, I watch a lot of stuff, and I mean, just for the psychology of stuff, really, like, because they didn't do a whole lot. It was more emotion. So if you ever want to watch any matches that are just pure emotion and how to get the crowd riled up by doing nothing but just breathing the wrong way, that's the stuff to watch. So yeah, I watch it all the time. I mean, like I said, I watch a lot of my dad's stuff just to watch my dad, but just to learn some of the stuff and how to keep it old school, because that was some of the best stuff. And watching the crowd be so hot over nothing, like, just they would just get fired up if like Buddy Jack just tripped down the stairs, and they would just think that's like the biggest thing, but that's heat. That's what you got to do. And people kind of forget that stuff. Like, it's just simple things like that. And I watch for stuff like that all the time.
I feel like in today's wrestling, like, okay, the guys are more athletic, they can do crazy stuff, but I can watch that and like, yeah, I'll catch it next week. You know what I mean? If you're emotionally invested and you really care about the character and the guy and you want to see what happens in the story, you never want to miss it. You can't miss it. You know what I mean? It's completely different. So yeah, the guys may be more athletic, but they're missing that element that your father and Michael obviously had. It's like, I want to watch these guys get their neck wrung, or I want to get these guys, or I want to love the Von Erichs or even Hulk Hogan. Like, I want to love Hulk. Like, you get so emotionally invested, you can't miss it.
Absolutely. Yeah. And that's like, it takes just little stuff like that, just getting those fans like either pissed at you or loving the face, and then they're invested and they're going to spend money to come back the next week and see what happens. Kind of like a soap opera, but much more fun.
Yeah. So wind that down here, head towards the finish. Just curious, let's say I go to YouTube and I want to say Miranda Gordy best matches or favorite matches. Who's on that list? Who would I be looking up that you faced before, that some of your most prized matches?
Oh, definitely on top of my list now is the NWA match. I That was a lot of fun. Uh, Velvet and Kylan were definitely fun to work with, and just the energy there and being in the NWA ring with the history, of course, my family's history there. I would think that that's probably my favorite match right now. Um, of course, my match in Japan, not the greatest match, but I'm super proud of it considering I was only, uh, a few months in. It was my first hill match. There's a language barrier, and I'm in a place that nobody knew me. So, so I'm not the greatest match, but I'm super proud of that. Of course, anything with Christy James, I love working with her. I have a pretty good match with like Alex Gracia. I'm trying to think of who else. I have a ton of matches with like Nova Phoenix. She's a homegrown Texas girl too. So just to name a few that I enjoy working with, and we've had some good matches.
And we mentioned some dream matches out there. But where else do you wanna work, or have you thought like, "Oh, I would like to get an AEW, WWE," like, maybe sometimes that's, like, far down the road thinking, or maybe not, but what's your thought? Like, do you wanna do AEW? You wanna do WWE? Like, is there another place that I haven't mentioned you'd love to work?
Um, Really, I mean, there's not like a specific one. Obviously, if I had the chance to work for AEW, I would love to work for them. The same with WWE. I had a tryout back in February with the WWE, and that went well, and I enjoyed the tryout. Like I was very nervous going, but I had a lot of fun being there. So that would be a fun place to be, especially with Michael being a part of the company. It would be like working with family. Um, Impact, NWA, of course, those would be ROH. All those places would be really fun to work at, and I know people at all the places. So, who doesn't love working with their friends? Um, but really, anywhere. Like I said, just being able to travel, going back to Japan and working anywhere in Japan would be cool. Just, I'm kind of using wrestling as a way to like obviously heal from my dad, but also explore the world. If you can use it. As a way to have fun, you're not really working. So anywhere that lets me travel and see a new place, honestly.
That's really cool to, like, kinda honor your father, but, yeah, you're getting your own feet, you're standing on your own too, but it's kinda cool to have him out there in the shadows, lurking or watching over you, and I think that kinda thing is really cool to see another Freebird, you know what I mean? I mean, that's
Yeah,
cool. Had
yeah.
you
And oh, go ahead.
Oh, I was gonna say, how do you feel just are you kinda meeting expectations as far as, like, okay, that's pretty lofty to think you're gonna be as good as your dad, but are you meeting your own expectations?
Well, yeah. So I'll never like I know from the start like I will never be even a quarter of what my dad was. He was just natural. He was born for it. It was his passion. It's all he ever did. So, and most people from today's standards will never be, that. So it takes like a special individual, like the top, to be on that level these days. So I don't expect to be on that level. Um, but as I mean, considering like I didn't want anything to do with wrestling like 3 4 years ago to where I am now, absolutely. Getting just a chance to go to Japan or be on NWA at 2 years in, absolutely. I'm exceeding a lot of people's expectations in this business. I'm sure a lot of people, as soon as they heard my name, just thought, oh, she's just gonna, ride the name, and not that I'm not, because that's what my dad did. He put it in place for me, but they probably didn't expect me to take it so seriously and just ride it until I couldn't anymore. But yeah, I think in my own head, I'm killing it for my standards. Absolutely.
How'd you get the WWE tryout? Was that through Michael?
It was definitely through Michael. Yeah, I just turned 32. Of course, they have a somewhat of an age limit sometimes. So he's like, "Why? Let's at least get it started. Get your foot in the door. Let them see you. Let them know who you are." So yeah, in February we set it up actually last August, I think, when things were still shut down, and they had a couple of people on the waiting list, and they had to go through those tryouts first, and then February came around, and I got my time to go, and like I said, I had a good time. Everyone was super friendly up there.
That's pretty cool though to get that tryout or at least get your foot in the door in that aspect. Did they give you advice like, hey, do this, change that, wrestle more, go travel more? Because sometimes they'll bring somebody in for a trial, but like, why don't you go here, here, and here, wrestle more, get some experience, and then come back?
Yeah, absolutely. They gave me a lot of good feedback. So, like, obviously promos, which is my biggest thing. Like, I will absolutely say that I am not a talker. I'm an introverted person, and that's probably the biggest critique I'll give myself, and they gave me is the promos. Um, and it's so important, and people forget about that. And even I, like, forgot about that. So that's probably the biggest thing in getting a character, because they want to work towards, bringing the character stuff back. So just developing who I am, and what I'm going to be in wrestling, and working on promos. And as far as the wrestling stuff, like, I got to work with like William Regal and Bobby Brookside and Norman Smiley and Matt Bloom and stuff, and just kind of cleaning stuff up, because I mean, really, I'm still green. And so after the tryout matches and stuff, we had like an educational time, and they watched us work, and like, oh, you could change this about this, and kind of stuff that they're looking for. So that, in that sense, like, I'm grateful that I got to work with all those people, and like, suck up all that knowledge too.
Absolutely. So let's just give the crystal ball 2 years, 3 years, whatever from now. Where do you see yourself?
Well, hopefully, still wrestling, because you never know.
Right.
Anything can happen. Um, Hopefully, still just doing this, and enjoying my time. I could be on the TV. Like I said, I don't really have anything set that I really have to do, to feel accomplished. But like, we'll say TV somewhere on a regular basis, that people are watching me on some sort of broadcast network. How about that?
Love it. So before we let you go, please give all the plugs where everybody can find you and maybe where you're coming up wrestling next.
All right. You can find me YouTube, Instagram, Facebook, Twitter, Pro Wrestling Tees, all under Miranda Gordy. Um, as far as what I have coming up, I have Still Domain Wrestling this coming Friday, and then Dynamic Wrestling Federation in Kansas City on Saturday, and then some stuff in Texas and around the New England states. So I'm excited for all that. Just if I'm on TV, I'll definitely put it on my social media accounts.
Nice, good stuff. Thank you so much, Miranda, for all the time, and good luck in the future. Just one final question: have you ever been to Bad Street, USA?
I grew up on Bad Street.
Hey, Miranda, thank you so much for all the time. Really appreciate it. Have yourself a great night. But thank you. Appreciate all the time.
Yeah, thank you.